under some advice of my gunsmith and some of the issues I was having trying to get that 6.5 Creedmoor to shoot. He advised trying some large primers. Hello everybody. I think you probably remember this thing. This is our Bergara match precision rifle in a 6.5 Creedmoor. And as you know, we've been having issues trying to get this thing to shoot like I think it should shoot. And we've gone through some pretty extreme measures with this thing, and stick around. Hopefully this video won't be too awful long, but maybe I can explain what we've had to go through and where we're at with this thing. As you may recall, we started off this 6.5 Creedmoor venture with some nice Lapua brass and some Bergara hybrid target 144 grain bullets, and set on our little journey to find a load as quick as we could. We ended up running some ladder tests on some of the powder we had, Reloader 17, IMR 4350, Superformance, Hybrid V100, and we weren't getting any good results with that. The targets were just all over the damn place. Here's our ladder test, gone. We did a jump test to kind of see if we were in a neighborhood, gone. More ladder tests, more trying. This one here we actually got the closest to on a group, and that was about 8/10 of an inch. That was 100 yards. Did some 200 yard testing with it, changing stuff around, nothing worth a crap. More target testing, gone. Not good results on our ladder test, gone. So we made a change. Took us a while. Things were kind of hard to get. Everybody was buying stuff up. Everything was sold out. I was thinking I needed to drop back on that bullet weight, get closer to the 140s. Now I've seen lots of 6.5 Creedmoors on the internet shooting, lights out like they should. So I knew there was something in there I just wasn't quite hitting on, and our little quickie program didn't get me there very quick. So we did come across some 140 grain bullets from Midway. These Barnes match burners. Yeah, I know they're not the greatest. They're not as good as the Bergars, that's for sure. But they were in the grain, the weight I wanted, 140 grain match bullets, bulk, so I had plenty of them to go with. But knowing this, I decided I better check these guys before I start flinging them down that barrel. So the first thing I did was weighed them all on a digital scale, and I sorted them all by weight. After I had my weight sorted out, and the ones that were on the odd ends, I just used those for fowlers or warm up or whatever. The next thing I had to check on the bullets was the actual base to ogive on these things. So I ended up setting all these things to a certain standard of, I think, about 1/1000th. Anything within 1/1000th of an inch I was good enough on, and just ended up sorting them all. This little doohickey is pretty nice. It made it kind of easy to just run in there and check these things real quick, so I was able to do it rather rapidly, and I know there was 500 of them, so They all got weight sorted and they all got length sorted. It still didn't shoot worth a darn. I mean, I was just like pulling my hair out, like, what's going on here? This is a precision rifle. I realize it's a factory precision rifle, but it should be shooting better. Some of those groups were just horrible. So we discussed our next step with that thing, and we ended up carrying it to the gunsmith. One of the first things our gunsmith did was hooked up a dial indicator from the barrel to the chassis to basically check the bedding on this thing to make sure that it was, bedded on there properly or seated properly, that there wasn't any movement going on in there. Then he took his bore scope and looked down on the barrel, looked in the chambering of the barrel, make sure the chambering looked like it was all right, make sure it was in line with the barrel. He said everything looked pretty good. Couldn't see any reason why, the gun would not be shooting very well. Then we got on a discussion of course, my loading habits and what I was loading. The topic of standard deviation, extreme spread was just something he didn't want to hear. So after conversing with what I was doing and what he thought might be happening there, he suggested going with large primers. He said he never could really understand why everybody wanted to shoot the small primers and them things anyway, and I just wasn't having a whole lot of luck with the small primers. I was still getting a little bit of hang fire on some of that. He handed me a bunch of Remington 9.5s to try, but he said I really needed to get some large, try some large rifle brass. So looking around, and of course the only thing we could come up with at the time was the Nosler brass. Got a bulk batch of that. Of course, large rifle. But I had to work this brass up, to get it comparable to where I was with the Lapua. So we ended up doing our necks. We reamed the inside like I did on the Lapua, and this Nosler brass was pretty rough in there, especially with the neck come down right on the shoulder joint, right in there. That was nasty, and that was hard to cut in there. So obviously their forming process is a little bit different than Lapua's, so it took quite a bit of work to get those things cleaned up. Got the outsides cut, and I even actually we went through the primer pockets, make sure they were all deep enough to seat my primers the whole way, because nothing aggravates me more than not having a primer that won't seat in far enough. Did the flash holes; those were all bored out with that little K&M tool. Actually weight sorted the brass. I'm trying to get everything matched up as well as I can, and then we went after some ladder tests again. I know this probably looks a little confusing. It's confusing to me, but I pretty much combined all my Barnes 140s onto one page, just to kind of give me an overlook of what could possibly go on. We started off with our small primer stuff with the Lapua brass, and here's our Reloader 17. It just kind of shot up. I had a little bit of something in there again. The yellow line would be their hybrid 100V. That pretty much did the same thing, kind of shot straight up. Actually shot some IMR 4350 in there, and that did the same thing. It just kind of shot right straight up. Our Super Performance with the small primers did a kind of a funky jumping around thing. I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on with that. I actually shot it again, and it was still very, very erratic. Couldn't understand that. Then we came along with our nozzler brass with the large primers, and I tried to kind of run the same test again. Our little red dotted line there, and there's a nice little plateau, just above 2,700 feet. The 100V come up and gave us a little plateau there, just under 2,700 feet. The Superformance, which is this green line now, you see it's still doing the jumping around thing. And I had actually swapped up at that point to Magnum primers, large rifle Magnum primers. And that's this little dotted line here. They come up and gave me a nice little plateau right there. See, it took out all that jumping around stuff and gave us that nice little plateau in there, and kind of went up. Throughout all this process, we ended up acquiring more Superformance, and since I've got that nice looking node in there, I figured I'd give it a whirl, and that's where we went next. Okay, so now that we've got our node up there, we're going to load in around that node and go shoot some groups and check our numbers real close and see how we're doing, right? So we'll shoot a few rounds out of it first. Make sure the gun's good and warmed up. And we start shooting our 5-shot groups. Got the powder written down, got the speed written down, got our standard deviation and our extreme spread. So it's 40.0, or 43.0, 43.1, 43.2, 43.3, and you can see we're starting to open back up again. But you come back to 43.2, the speeds were 2666, a standard deviation of 4, and an extreme spread of 12. And there's another one of our 5/8 inch groups. Not bad, it's kind of what we expected to see. We're in that node. We're going to find something going on in that node. So then we pull off a little jump test, make sure we're kind of got things going as close as we can. I ran my dies out, and that's pretty much a full length. That's actually touching the lands. It's not jammed, but it's touching. And we come back 3/1000ths, come back another 3/1000ths, come back another 3/1000ths. So see, we had 2 here, then 1 way over here again. What the heck? Come back another 3/1000ths, another 3, another 3. This guy over here was kind of liking us. These 3 shots here were just kind of side ends to make sure I was hitting all right, so that's why I've got those crossed off. Here's another 3/1000ths. There's 2 shots in that hole and 1 shot in that hole, so there's an odd flyer. So there's something kind of trying to happen here. Then we got this guy, and this is about 27/1000ths off the lands, off of touching, not off of jam, but off of touching the lands. 27/1000ths off. And I had marked the number on the die that I was set on, so I could duplicate that. Then another 3, another 3, and there's 3 shots right in that too. And another 3, and you can see this, it just started spreading back open. So we went in here figuring, we're pretty close on that, and let's load into that. And all right, so we know our powder load. Now we know our seating depth, and let's start shooting some groups. So we take our 43.2 grains of powder out, and we're going to shoot some groups. And that wasn't such a great group. That wasn't such a great group. And neither were those. But we're not on our 2666 either. The speeds fell off. Why did the speeds fall off? Okay. Time out. Going through all this stuff through my head, trying to figure out what's going on here. I'm shooting a lot of different guns, and I'm trying to keep pretty close data. I've got some pretty good data on this 6.5. We're using our new little press to monitor our seating pressure. We're trying to figure out what different seating pressures are doing for us. I've been able to ascertain that 10 pounds of seating force is about 20 foot per second with this round, which is about 2/10 of a grain. So I was trying to keep everything in this nice little narrow window for our accuracy. Shot some more groups testing this stuff, keeping real close data on this rifle. I've got 414 rounds run through this rifle now, trying to get a load for it. What doesn't help is when you get so involved in your data and what you're trying to do and the processes and the road you're trying to go down that you need to pay attention to what some of your actual data is trying to tell you. The last few times I've been out shooting that Bergara, I've been carrying the camera out with me and putting it on the targets because I knew this thing was going to shoot a nice lovely group and I'd be able to have it on film and show you all. And I actually had the camera out there on this day thinking it was going to do the same thing, and it came close, but it kind of let me down a little bit. You can see she's trying to group up. There's a little flower out of there. There's another nice little group, and I don't know if you can see that one. I stuck that one in there. A couple other little groups. As I'm watching these things, I noticed the speeds on them are really close together, and then the guy that kind of stuck up there had some different speeds on it. So, why is things being so finicky? While editing this movie, I realized something or noticed something. Here's our ladder testing we've been pulling off on this, and this guy here is our last little powder load with the Superformance, and you see it gave us a nice little plateau in there. And we run down into our powder charge right in here. This is the powder charge that we were working in. Well, what I failed to actually remember is this also on this chart shows us speed. So if you follow that line over, that's a 2730. And why are we looking at 2666? So we're going to run some more rounds through that 6.5 Creedmoor, and probably try to run another ladder up in there and just look at that node again to see where we're at with that node and try to stay in there. I understand kind of got caught up in this silly neck tension game with all our little man rolls and gauges, and the reason I probably was into it so focused on that is it actually makes a difference, and I'm getting to the point that I can see that difference is making. I just lost sight of the big picture, I guess. The other guns we're shooting the 6 Creedmoor in the Savage. My buddies, I've kind of turned that over to him to let him go through this process. So he's been working on the 6 Creed while I've been working on the Nightmare 6.5. I'm sure I'll get that around, and I got a pretty good idea if I get back up in the right node, I'll probably have a little better time. But our loading process is getting tighter. I mean, I've got some pretty nice 3 or 4 shots that are stacked right on top of each other speed-wise, and then I get these little outflyers, probably because we're not in a good happy zone there. My 243, I took it out the other day and did some shooting. There's 10 shots, so I know it's happy with what I'm doing with it. I just need to get everybody else happy. I've got 6 firings on this nozzler brass now. So the brass has worked out pretty good. Just need to be careful how I'm setting my tensions to stay in my node. Most of that effect that I'm getting on that neck tension is with the annealing. Now when I get done shooting these things, I'll deprime them, I'll throw them through my cleaner, and after they're cleaned and dried, then I'll anneal them. That is kind of an important step, because things really like to change around with that neck tension, as I said. AMP has come out with a new tool, that amp press. Everybody's got one now, and they're using them, and hopefully we'll be able to learn something off of what they learn with that new tool. So I'll be kind of watching those. But we're going to get another go through on this Bergara, and I'll have a video camera on those targets because I know it's going to shoot, and let's hope for the best, and I'll catch you next time.